My plan was to live a fulfilling life in our new home with Howard. However, my sister-in-law would show up daily and force me to take care of her children. "I got a night job today, so please take care of the kids. Save some dinner for me too," she demanded. Reluctantly taking care of the children, I gradually became unable to tolerate her repeated demands and Howard's indifference to them. My name is Holly, and I will soon be 32 years old. I met Howard at the company I joined shortly after graduating from university. At first, we often had drinking parties with our fellow new hires, and it was through these gatherings that I gradually became close to him. However, it did not immediately develop into a romantic relationship. 5 years after joining the company, many of our peers had transferred or changed jobs, resulting in fewer drinking parties. Amid this, a year-end party at work gave me the opportunity to go drinking with Howard again after a long time. In our 7th year at the company, we were assigned to the same department for the first time. We knew each other's contact information, but we had never met privately. Therefore, it was very enjoyable to meet and have a lively conversation at the year-end party. Taking advantage of the excitement of the occasion and the influence of alcohol, we decided to start dating. We officially framed it as a casual attempt, but in reality, I was quite serious. The truth was that we had not yet met our ideal partners, even after reaching our 30s. At this age, actively seeking new people to meet started to feel bothersome. I no longer participated in matchmaking parties and felt uneasy about using trendy dating apps. In this situation, since I had known Howard for a long time, we were well acquainted and had no need for formalities. Above all, Howard was a trustworthy person and not unattractive. In fact, seeing him again after a long time, he seemed more attractive than before. Even if we ended up breaking up, I could always say that we were just swept up in the moment. He was a kind of safety net for me. For these reasons, I decided to date him. What started as a whim turned out to be very enjoyable when we were together. I have a hobby of reading comics, and I especially enjoy watching live-action or animated adaptations. On the other hand, Howard's hobby is fishing. Having different hobbies allowed us to share our interests and deepen our relationship. Our relationship progressed smoothly, and in the year we both turned 30, we decided to get married. Given our ages, the decision to marry came naturally. Although we reached the point of marriage, we hadn't experienced any major conflicts, so I thought we were well matched. Before starting our life together, we decided to greet each other's families. My parents had been eager for me to marry soon, and when I introduced Howard, they were so happy that they cried. With smiles, they jokingly said, "Don't come back anymore." Seeing my parents' reaction, I was moved. With my parents' blessing, we felt happy and later went to greet Howard's family. Howard's family lived in an apartment. He had an older sister who was already married and had left the house. Surprisingly, she had also come to meet me at their home. I selected a gift from a popular pastry shop near my workplace and prepared to visit Howard's family. "There's no need to be nervous, just be yourself," Howard reassured me, but my mind was not at ease. Since I have no siblings, I hope to make a good impression on his sister. I secretly looked forward to becoming close with her and enjoying conversations amongst women. This desire made me somewhat nervous. However, my expectations were soon shattered, and I found myself overwhelmed by her behavior. Stepping into Howard's home nervously, his parents welcomed me warmly. "Welcome. You are so adorable. Thank you for coming today." Howard's parents had a gentle and very calm demeanor. They had already retired and were living on their pensions while working part-time occasionally. When I handed over the gift, Howard's mother guided me, saying, "I'll make some tea, so please have a seat." While she prepared the tea, Howard's father casually helped her. Seeing this, I hoped that someday Howard and I could become a couple like his parents. At that moment, Howard suddenly said, "Is my sister late again? She can never be on time." Howard's sister had not shown up yet. I hadn't met her yet, but I imagined what she might be like. Being the daughter of such kind parents, she must have a bright personality. Maybe she's carefree, which is why she's late. What kind of person could she be? I'm looking forward to meeting her, but I am nervous. Having received a good impression from Howard's parents, I was even more nervous about meeting his sister for the first time. An hour passed, and Howard's sister was still not there. It's usual for her to be late, but it's rare for her to be this late. She did say she would come today, right? Howard said, looking worried. Yes, I confirmed the time with her yesterday. If she has other plans, she should prioritize those. Howard's mother said, concerned about our schedule. Still, thinking it was a special day with no other plans, we continued to wait for her arrival. After a while, the front door suddenly opened, and instead of the expected sister-in-law, 4 children entered the living room. Expecting her, I was surprised by the sudden appearance of the children and asked Howard in a low voice, "Who are these children?" "Oh, these are my sister's kids. Maggie, a second-year middle schooler, the 4th-grade twins Tony and Billy, and the 3-year-old Emma, I think." Howard spoke as if confirming their names, and Maggie nodded slightly in response. Maggie started playing on her phone. The twins were engrossed in a newly brought video game, and Emma was playing with her favorite doll she had brought along. Still trying to grasp the situation, I finally saw Howard's sister arrive. However, she was very different from the image I had in my mind. "Sorry, I'm in a hurry. Please watch the kids. I'll be back in about an hour," she said. At that moment, she was dressed in casual sweats and sandals, with her faded blonde hair tied up in a ponytail. "Linda, today is an important day because Howard's fiancé is here," said Howard's mother, but Linda had already left the house. I was simply shocked by Linda's overwhelming presence. Howard laughed and said, "I'm really sorry. My sister is always like that, but with 4 kids to raise, she tends to forget her schedule. I can't imagine the busyness of raising children since I have no experience, but I feel like she shouldn't forget such an important day." However, I couldn't actually say those words, so we just waited for Linda to return. Linda said she would be back in about an hour, so I wanted to make sure to meet and greet her properly. "I'm sorry for the trouble," Howard's mother apologized. Meanwhile, the children were completely at ease, as if they were at home, each absorbed in their favorite activities. I thought it was a great opportunity to get close to Linda's children, but the atmosphere was not conducive. Maggie was focused on her phone with her earphones in. The twins were loudly engrossed in their game, and Emma was playing alone with her doll, leaving no opportunity to talk to her. Thanks to the children, the house was always full of energy. According to Howard's parents, Linda often left the children at home when she had errands to run. Living in an apartment, they told the twins to be quiet, but they rarely complied, making childcare difficult for the elderly parents. An hour passed and Linda still hadn't returned. Eventually, she came back after 3 hours. "Is there anything to eat?" "I'm hungry," Linda said, starting to eat the sweets I had brought without a word of apology for making us wait. "These are the sweets that Holly brought," Howard's father mentioned, and finally, Linda looked at me properly. At that moment, I stood up and introduced myself. Then, Linda looked me over from head to toe. Noticing that I was feeling a bit uncomfortable under her gaze, Howard proudly said, "Holly, who will be my wife, chose that dessert. It's from a well-known shop, so it should be delicious, right?" The dessert I chose was pudding, and my sister-in-law was holding a nearly empty cup of it in her hands. After she responded with "I see," she took out her phone and started searching for something. There are a few reviews, but it doesn't seem to be rated very highly," she said, enjoying the pudding while complaining about the shop's ratings. Then she asked the next question. "Did everyone get this pudding?" The children began checking if they had received the pudding I brought. Of course, no one had. I hadn't prepared desserts for all 4 children. Feeling awkward about the situation, I reflexively responded, "I'm sorry. I didn't know you had children." It seemed my casual remark had offended my sister-in-law. "What? Are you saying I can't take care of my kids?" I had tried to convey that I didn't know she had 4 children, but it didn't come across well. "Calm down. Holly didn't know you had children and didn't expect them to come," Howard intervened. Howard's intervention seemed to calm her down a bit. My initial desire to get close to my sister-in-law faded away with her unexpected attitude. In fact, I decided I'd only do the bare minimum necessary to maintain the relationship with her. At that moment, Howard's mother made a suggestion. "We've kept you waiting. Dinner is on us tonight." Just as I was considering going home, my thoughtful mother-in-law invited me to dinner. Of course, I couldn't refuse such an offer. Howard's parents ordered a luxurious steak meal for us. What was supposed to be an enjoyable meal turned into a tense atmosphere due to my sister-in-law's behavior. This is the last time the daughter-in-law will be treated as a guest. Don't think you can come here and relax. My sister-in-law, in high spirits from drinking, gradually became stricter in her attitude towards me. Howard's parents comforted me by saying, "That's not true," but they seemed a bit saddened. Next, I was told, "Getting married at 30 means you should have children soon, or it'll be a late childbirth. Having only 1 child is lonely, so you should have siblings." Linda boasted about having Maggie when she was young, at the age of 40. That day, she had gone out for beauty maintenance, including eyelash extensions and nail care. Her outfit for the day was in relaxation mode, but she mentioned there are days when she does full makeup. Perhaps due to the alcohol, Linda continued talking endlessly about things I hadn't asked. With each word, I grew more resentful towards her. After somehow getting through the first meeting, the next month we began our life together. We dreamed of owning our own home, but eventually I moved into Howard's house. Life with Howard was progressing smoothly, but the only concern was taking care of Linda's children. Linda would show up unexpectedly, leaving the kids at our house and then disappearing somewhere. Howard was used to his sister's visits and welcomed the children without concern. Feeling dissatisfied with this situation, I said to Howard, "Please tell your sister to inform us before coming over." "I've told her, but that's just how she is. The kids are fine, so please be more understanding," Howard responded. According to Howard, Linda was actively job hunting for a full-time position and wanted to become financially independent for her children's sake. On days when she had interviews, she would come dressed appropriately and leave the children with us. Howard said the kids were always able to entertain themselves and didn't need constant supervision. However, that's not the real problem. We also have our own plans, and having someone show up without notice is very inconvenient. What's more problematic is that Linda often doesn't come to pick up the children at the promised time. Howard defended her, saying, "She's tired from looking after the kids every day. She's just taking a little break after job hunting." But I couldn't accept that. If she could keep her promises, that's what I would like her to do. In the end, my dissatisfaction with this situation continued to grow within me. Still, a year later, we decided to move to a new house. The house we built was a spacious 7-bedroom house, anticipating our future family plans. With plenty of rooms, we even included a hobby room and a walk-in closet. Excited about the move, we prepared and started our new life. We completed the move without informing Linda of our new address. This was because I didn't want her to frequently leave her children with us. Reluctantly, Howard accepted my decision. However, a month after moving into our new home, an unexpected visitor arrived. Linda and her children suddenly showed up. What a lovely house. "We came to celebrate," she said as they entered one by one. They spread out the food and drinks they had brought on the table, and Linda immediately started drinking. Then she said, "I pressed the intercom, but there was no response, so I went to our parents' house. I was surprised to find a notice of your move. If you're living in such a nice house, you should have told me." It seemed Linda was planning to leave her children with us again. As a result, while we were away, Linda went to our parents' house, found the change of address notice, and showed up at our new home. I never imagined she would find that postcard at their house. It was something I couldn't have predicted. Howard, in high spirits from drinking, started showing Linda around the house. The children, uninterested in the new home, entertained themselves. Thus, the house tour was conducted only by Linda and Howard. After looking around the rooms, the two returned to the living room and had a surprising conversation. "Look, there are 2 empty rooms. Maybe we'll move in next week." "Sure." "Don't worry about living expenses." I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but I didn't pursue it at that moment. I didn't take their drunken conversation seriously. Saying anything at that moment would have only led to an argument with Linda, making me feel worse. That night ended, and Linda and her children went home by taxi. The next day, when I asked to sober Howard again, he replied, "Yesterday's talk was a joke. My sister wouldn't really think of doing something so crazy." Howard's reassuring words gave me temporary relief. However, within just a few days, Linda's children started coming to our house almost every day. "I got a night job here, so please take care of the kids," Linda said. Amazingly, she left her children with us while she went to work at night. According to her, the kids would be happier in our spacious house than in their small one. "Please, just until my job settles down," Howard said, so I reluctantly agreed. The children would come in the evening, do their homework, and then play on their phones or games. I hadn't expected them to do their homework, so I was pleasantly surprised. Maggie was fascinated by my comic collection room, and the twins were engrossed in games. We hadn't talked much before, but this opportunity gradually increased our conversations. Emma watched our interactions and invited me to play house with her. Despite Linda's troublesome behavior, I gradually built a bond with the children. However, my continued tolerance led to even more intrusion by Linda. Previously, she would send them over after dinner, but now she sent them without any food. As a result, I ended up taking care of their meals without any reimbursement from her. Moreover, Linda would arrive well past the promised time and brazenly ask, "Save some dinner for me too." As my bond with the children deepened, Linda's late arrivals became more frequent. Seeing Linda wake the sleeping children to take them home, I felt sorry for them. So at some point, I decided to let Linda and the children stay over. About a month after their daily visits became routine, Linda arrived with large luggage, announcing her intention to stay for an extended period. Everyday drop-offs and pickups are tough, and the kids have grown attached to you, she said. I was startled by the sudden announcement of cohabitation, but Howard remained unperturbed, casually accepting the suggestion, saying, "They're practically family now." He then led Linda to the available room. This situation made my temperature rise and anger surged within me. "We're sorry for the suddenness, but if it's a bother, we'll leave," the kids said. These words came from the children, who showed far more understanding than their mother. Hearing such words, I had no choice but to let them stay. I decided to observe the situation for a while. Linda started leaving the house at night and returning in the early morning. I ended up not only taking care of the children's meals but also Linda's, without any compensation for the food expenses. While the children were indeed lovable, I was reaching my limit. Then Howard's remark ignited my anger. With 4 kids around, we can't afford to have our own children, right? I was furious and retorted, "What are you talking about? How long are you planning to let her stay? Get her out of here immediately." Howard, who was probably just joking, didn't realize I wasn't amused. In response to my words, Howard also grew angry and said, "My sister is family to me. Holly, you should cherish your family too. Someone who can't value family shouldn't have children. In the end, to you, both I and your sister are family. But prioritizing her opinions over mine means you're favoring her over me. Is that correct?" I spoke slowly, as if confirming my words. Howard, clearly irritated, responded, "Of course, that's only natural." "Understood. Then, let's get a divorce." Saying this, I showed him the already filled out divorce papers. In fact, when we moved into this house, Howard had agreed to my condition that if he ever prioritized his sister over me, we would divorce. "Wait a minute, we just built a new house." "That's not appropriate," he protested. Howard tried to persuade me to change my mind, but my decision was already made. I could no longer tolerate Linda's freewheeling behavior and Howard's unwillingness to criticize her. So, I packed my things and left that house. A few days later, I received a message from Maggie. We had exchanged contact information in case of emergencies, and she asked me to come back because Dad wants to talk. Reluctantly, I couldn't refuse Maggie's request and decided to return home. As soon as I arrived, Linda confronted me, accusing, "Everything got messed up because of you." The mediator was Linda's husband. "I'm very sorry for the trouble my wife has caused," he said. Linda's husband surprisingly gave a sincere impression. He explained that his work kept him busy and away from home, during which Linda acted on her own. The claim of job hunting was a lie in reality. She was obsessed with strip clubs, enjoying various establishments and engaging in inappropriate relationships. Upon learning these facts, her husband eventually notified Linda of his intention to divorce, leading to the current situation. "Even if we divorce, none of the kids will go with you. They've always been with me. You should pay child support for all 4. Linda boasted proudly in front of the children. However, the children immediately began to refute her. "What are you talking about? None of us like you. That's right. Holly has always been a better mother to us, and where could we find another mother like her?" Absolutely. Holly's stories about comics are always fun, and living in this house has been really comfortable. Hearing the children's voices, Linda was visibly shaken. She gently hugged Emma and said, "Emma, I'm your mother, right?" When Emma responded, "My mother is Holly." Linda's anger intensified, and she directed her rage at me. "You planted these thoughts in the children, didn't you?" Linda accused me. Hearing this, the children gathered protectively around me. "Why are you all acting like this? Even if we divorce, she won't become your mother. And who will take care of the house chores and cooking?" "Don't worry, we can handle the cleaning, laundry, and cooking ourselves," Maggie firmly declared. The twins nodded in agreement. They had naturally learned these skills as we deepened our relationship, actively helping with household chores. They had acquired essential life skills and cooking techniques, establishing a solid foundation for independent living. Therefore, even if we divorce, the children won't go back to you. Thus, there's no need for child support. Moreover, you should make a proper apology for your infidelity, Linda's husband stated. "Do something, Howard," Linda demanded. Howard, who had been tense and silent for a long time, suddenly found himself drawn into the conversation, unable to hide his confusion. Seeing Howard's hesitation only increased my frustration. "Howard, you've always taken your sister's side, haven't you? So why don't you follow through?" "Well, okay, if you cancel the divorce, I'll support you," Howard blurted out. What? What are you saying?" "Our divorce is already finalized, so I won't be swayed." I was shocked by Howard's arrogant attitude. Linda, equally frustrated, retorted, "What? You're completely useless." Seeing no reason to stay in such a situation, I quietly left the house while Howard and Linda argued intensely. Linda ultimately failed to obtain custody of any of the children, and the divorce was finalized. I've heard that Linda's ex-husband consulted with his company to adjust his work schedule, making efforts to spend more time with the children. After the divorce, Linda tried to return to her parents' house, but knowing the reason for the divorce, they harshly criticized her, saying, "It's disgraceful to be so involved with men. Have some shame," and rejected her. As a result, she became even more engrossed in the nightlife, becoming obsessed with strip clubs. In the process, she accrued a large debt from unreliable sources and now works tirelessly to repay it. However, since customers without money were not needed, I heard that she eventually got banned from those clubs. On the other hand, my divorce from Howard was finalized without any issues. We used to work at the same company, but since Howard had transferred a few years ago, our divorce did not spread at the workplace. This ensured my position at work remained secure. Afterward, they transferred the newly built house we lived in during our marriage to me. When I informed my parents about the divorce, they were indeed disappointed, but since I had my own house, I didn't have to return to live with them. Although I need to repay the mortgage, as long as my current job continues, I should be able to manage. Living alone in a spacious house sometimes makes me feel lonely, but the occasional visits from Linda's children bring joy to my daily life. Maggie and the others often say, "I wish Holly could be our real mother. But for now, I am enjoying my single life and plan to continue this way for the foreseeable future."